Seeing nobody's going to take the time to do it themselves, I might as well try and do it for them.
All day! Just done. How are you? Good. Good to be here. Good to have you here, man. You were just telling me before we went on air the numbers of the social dilemma, and they're bonkers. So what? Just say that.
Yeah. The social dilemma was seen by 38 million households in the first 28 days on Netflix, which I think is broken records. And if you assume, a lot of people are seeing it.
Broken records? Seeing the same video I've been saying to watch? No, can't be.
With their family, because parents seeing it with their kids, the issues that are around teen mental health. So if you assume 1 out of 10 families saw it with a few family members, we're in the 40 to 50 million people range, which is just broken records, I think, for Netflix. I think it was the second most popular documentary throughout the month of September. Or film throughout the month of September.
It is a really well done documentary, but I think it's one of those documentaries that affirmed a lot of people's worst suspicions about the dangers of social media, and then on top of that, it sort of alerted them to what they were already experiencing in their own personal life and highlighted it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, most people were aware, I think it's a thing everyone's been feeling, that the feeling you have when you use social media isn't that this thing is just a tool or it's on my side. It is an environment based on manipulation, as we say in the film. And that's really what's changed. That, I remember, I've been working on these issues for something like 8 years or something now.
Can you please tell people who didn't see the documentary what your background is and how you got into it?
Yeah, so the film goes back as a set of technology insiders. My background was as a design ethicist at Google. So I first had a startup company that we sold to Google. I landed there through a talent acquisition. And then started work about a year into being at Google, made a presentation that was about how essentially technology was holding the human collective psyche in its hands, that we were really controlling the world's psychology. Because every single time people look at their phone, they are basically experiencing thoughts and scrolling through feeds and believing things about the world. This has become the primary meaning-making machine for the world. And that we as Google had a moral responsibility to, hold the collective psyche in a thoughtful, ethical way and not create this sort of race to the bottom of the brainstem attention economy that we now have. So my background was as a kid, I was a magician. We can get into that. I studied at a lab at Stanford studied in a class called the Stanford Persuasive Technology class that taught a lot of the engineers in Silicon Valley kind of how the mind works, and the co-founders of Instagram were there.
Did you hear that? They taught them how the mind works. What did I say? The biology of belief is how the mind works. Everybody should go watch The Biology of Belief for 100th time to understand how the mind works. Then follow everybody else that is watching the Social Dilemma documentary. And then you will be able to relate to what is going on around you that everybody's been trying to talk about and say, but get shut down. It's that simple.
And then later studied behavioral economics and how the mind is sort of influenced. I went into cults and started studying how cults work, and then arrived at Google through this lens of, technology isn't really just this thing that's in our hands. It's more like this manipulative environment that is tapping into our weaknesses, everything from the slot machine rewards to, the way you get tagged in a photo and it sort of manipulates your social validation and approval, these kinds of things.
When you were at Google, did they still have the "Don't Be Evil" sign up?
I don't know if there's actually a physical sign. Was there?
There was never a physical sign? I thought there was something that they actually had.
I think there was this guy, was it Paul? Not Paul, what was his last name? He was one of the inventors of Gmail, and they had a meeting and they came up with this mantra because they realized the power that they had, and they realized that there was going to be a conflict of interest between advertising on the search results and regular search results. And so they know that they could have used that power, and they came up with this mantra, I think, in that meeting in the early days.
You hear that? Use that power. Okay? They have power, and we keep enabling them to have power.
to don't be evil.
There was a time where they took that mantra down. I remember reading about it online, and
They took it off their page, I think.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I was like, that should be big news. Like, there's no reason to take that down. Why would you take that down?
Yeah.
Why would you say, well, maybe you could be a little evil? Let's not get crazy.
It's a good question. I mean, I wonder what logic would have you remove a statement like that.
That seems like a standard statement. Like, it's a great statement. Okay, here it is. Google removes "Don't be evil" clause from its code of conduct.
In 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2018, Google removes its "Don't be evil" clause from its code of conduct. But I'm a conspiracy theorist. Episode number 1556, you should watch a Joe Rogan. All the episodes, you should watch a Joe Rogan. Every fucking episode he's ever made. Because you'll be able to know this information instead of watching the news for 2 minutes and only getting bits and pieces of he said, she said bullshit. Let me ask you something. Can you correlate that to your work life or any other part of your life? The he said, she said bullshit? Can that correlate to anything? Do you get shut down? Have you lost friends over politics because of he said, she said bullshit? Have you lost friends over fucking racial issues, but you never been a racist your entire life? Can you correlate those two things together? Does that make sense? Can you relate in somehow, some way? Can you go on Twitter? Can you go on Twitter right now and just read feeds for hours of hate, of straight fucking hate, massive amounts of hate, and then go to Instagram, okay, and you'll notice something. It's all in what you follow. Like, look up things you don't follow, and you'll see different things, which the Social Dilemma documentary depicts. Why? And the algorithms and everything that's fucking doing it. Just wake up, people, man. Go watch episode 1556. This episode is 1558, Joe Rogan's podcast. People are Spotify sticking up for him because obviously cancel culture is trying to shut him down, or whoever the powers may be are trying to shut him down. Like, people need to fucking wake up, man. Later. Alright, so pay attention. Check this out. I'm on TikTok, right? Let's see this.
Dr. Gold's speech, she talked about...
So here we are, November 1st, 2020, the next day. I don't know how else to do this, but I'm trying to do this with the systems and the powers that be that I understand and recognize now because of the social dilemma and all the things that I've been trying to say to go viral across the world, like watching the social dilemma and the fucking, excuse my French, and the point of watching it for the enlightened education that you get from watching it, which is now gone viral and the views just keep on increasing, okay? I now need you, after you got that information that Joe Rogan has obviously gotten, because if you follow his podcast, you will understand. So what does he do? He gets the same person from the documentary of the social dilemma and has an interview in long form with the person, asking the same questions every person on this planet is asking themselves, but don't have time to do. Okay? Because we have to work and we have to provide. We have our attention pulled in all different directions, like the social dilemma documentary expresses. Okay? So right now, everybody that I tagged in this video is basically a vehicle to get Joe's podcast 1558 with the interview from the guy from the social dilemma to watch fully from start to finish, to pause everything in your life, everything you're being pulled from, like the social dilemma documentary outlines. Everybody needs to stop, press pause, and go watch Joe Rogan's episode 1558 to fully understand the same questions everybody's asking themselves today. The same information that I already have, that I can't get to the world unless I have a vehicle to do so, which is Dan Bongino, which is Ben Shapiro, which is everybody that has a following, everybody that has a group of intellectual and smart trying to describe what's happening in the world today with our election, with social media, with everything that's going on, every little point that's going on with COVID, with I can't express to you more that's going on. I can't articulate. I'm a 9th grade dropout. I can't articulate in the same understanding as I understand it from watching Joe Rogan's episode 1558. I'm trying to get everybody to press pause in their life for 2 hours to watch the questions being asked and the answers being given from Joe Rogan's podcast. Why? Because essentially he has the time, because of his podcast, to interview the people that need to be talked to understand what's going on. Okay? Essentially, we all don't have time because our attention is being pulled in politics, is being pulled in COVID, is being pulled in conspiracies, is being pulled in every which direction, because we're all competing for attention. We're all competing to make a living and survive in this world, okay? I have spent time in my life in the past 6 months watching, learning, not conspiracy from conspiracy theorists, but from credible sources. Podcast is a credible source. The guy who was in the Social Dilemma documentary, which is now getting views skyrocketing. I need this to go get skyrocketing, and everybody needs to press pause and just watch it so you can understand what I'm trying to articulate to you. If you watch the Social Dilemma and you already got that new enlightenment and that new information that you didn't have before, and you wouldn't have got it unless somebody told it on social media, in the news, or wherever you got the information to watch the Social Dilemma, the same thing I'm telling you to go watch Joe Rogan's full episode 1558, because he is the vehicle for the information that all of humanity needs to learn and needs to get out and go viral. A fucking kid could go viral doing some flip bottle trick, right? It could go across the world. That's what needs to happen with Joe Rogan's episode 1558, with the person from the Social Dilemma being interviewed. The person who has the knowledge and the know-how to explain and articulate way better than I can all the things that I'm seeing that I got before watching the Social Dilemma, before watching Joe's podcast, because I have the time to do that. I'm consciously taking the time to do that instead of doing what I could want to do, go fishing, go hunting, whatever I want to do. Okay? I've taken the time to do it, and that is the important key factor, that everybody needs to just take a moment in their life, like they took to, and take that same concept to watch Joe Rogan's podcast 1558, to understand before this election the big picture. They need to get it to the president. They need to get it to everybody in Congress to sit down and conceptualize, or whatever the word is, to understand these concepts of what's happening before your eyes, because then you're going to realize, you'll understand it when you get the information. You're not getting the full picture because our news is only 2-minute intervals, okay? Social media is only a few second video. The people behind it don't even understand because they don't have the time to watch the podcast in a full long form understanding that this episode, I feel like this episode is like the pinnacle of everything that's been happening in the past 6 months. And if you think I'm crazy, or was I crazy about the social dilemma? Begging you all to watch it, if you watched it. If you think I'm like emotional, the whole fucking thing, I'm not. I'm trying to educate people and get them to understand the same thing that I am able to understand by having a full understanding of it, by doing what needs to be done to get a full understanding of it, which is taking the time out of your day, because we have been subconsciously led to do what we were trying to do, which is provide for a life on the planet, okay? We're doing everything because we have to do it, but it's leading us in a direction that I can't articulate to you better than the Joe Rogan podcast, which is, yes, 2 hours long. But you got to understand, it has to be that long to receive the enlightened information. Okay? You don't just learn how to read a book in one day. To learn how to read through a process that takes time. Same concept is why you need to watch Joe Rogan's podcast, and needs to go viral for everybody on the planet, not even in America, for everybody on the planet to understand what I understand, what he understands, what the dude who made the Social Dilemma documentary understands, what all the people that I tagged in this live right now is going to understand, or partially understands. The real people who really understand it are Brett Weinstein and Lex Friedman, because they're on that conscious level that I'm on, and they have a better way of articulating. But unless you take the time with watching a full-length video with the phone in your pocket, you could be driving, listening. You could do the same thing as you're doing in life. You could be at work, listening, instead of listening to music or all the other things that are pulling you in this direction, that direction. You could be listening to the information that Joe Rogan is a vehicle for right now to get to the world in a responsible manner, without bias, without negativity, without anything having to do with good or bad, but factual understanding of what everybody's been feeling in their lives that they can't explain. Like, the religious groups are basically saying from the Bible, okay, is happening, is like literally happening, but not in the same concept. Like, what everybody's feeling is literally coming to life, but not in the same concept that they're seeing it. I can't explain it. I don't have the education and the words. I'm a ninth grade dropout. I can't articulate it to you in the way that I understand it in here. But the podcast, if you watch 1558 with the guy from the biology, from the documentary of A Social Dilemma, you will understand that. The way that I understand conscious, if you watch The Biology of Belief, they full 2.5 long hour lecture, you will understand what I understand about science and human brain and how our cells and everything works. I could literally give you 6 hours of videos that you could listen to get to where Joe Rogan is right now in the interview that he's having with the guy who created The Social Dilemma. Only reason I'm making this video and tagging everybody that I'm tagging into it, because I'm literally gonna prove a point after they watch the information and intake the information to understand everything that I'm trying to articulate. I'm predicting right now, just like I predicted, once people watch The Social Dilemma, they will understand what they're seeing in their hands, in their life, right before them. You actually understand everything that's happened in the past 6 months and how it got to there. Everything that's happened with elections and how it got to this point. Everything with the divide in every possible walk of life and how it's gotten to that point. Okay? But the people who are building these concepts and systems and everything, all they're trying to do is make a living. All they're trying to do is do what everybody's trying to do. But they don't have the time to question the things that need to be questioned. I've been, for whatever reason, gifted that ability in a sense to understand that. And all I'm trying to do is get everybody else to understand it, which is what everybody else essentially is doing that I tagged in this video, but for different purposes, for political purposes, for the race divide purposes, for religious purposes, for news purposes, for constitutional purposes. All the same shit. All the same stuff. All put together, basically. If you watch one and take the time and press pause in your life to watch it, which is Joe Rogan's podcast episode 1558. Okay? With the person who was in the Social Dilemma documentary. And if it gets taken down after me making this video, then that's very, very deceiving and deceitful to the American people to get the correct information. So if Facebook takes this down, if this video that I'm making live right now with all the people tagged in it, if they go and share it or start talking about it, it gets taken down, that's very deceitful and that's a very big problem. And then it's even deeper than I could even fathom. Okay? Please take the time to understand what I understand by pressing pause in your life or by going to the gym and listening to the information to give to you with the people who need to be the vehicles to bring it to go viral across the planet. Okay? We make little stupid videos go viral across the planet that are either real heartfelt or meaningful in some type of way that people connect with it and it goes viral. I need everybody to connect with Joe Rogan's podcast 1558 for a specific reason, because it's important for us to ask these questions and get these answers in the way that a long-form conversation is able to give to you. Okay? We don't build relationships off of 2 second, 2 minute, you don't go out on a date and then see a person for tomorrow, do the same thing for 2 minutes, and then the next day do the same thing for 2 minutes and then build something or understand how they are or what's going on. Like, that's the point. You have to press pause to receive this information, and then once you start hearing it, you'll correlate everything in your life and how much sense it makes and how valuable it is. Like, I don't know what else to do to this is like my last shot of giving a fuck, to be honest with you. That's it. Like, there's nothing else I have in my power to do. I don't make videos. I don't do this. Like, there's a reason why I'm doing this. There's a method behind the madness. Like, well, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I could see from my perspective all these people that are spending time in things that might not be meaningful and important as watching and learning or listening and learning or reading and learning certain things in our life to date that have gotten us to this point in humanity. Like, I have so much information downloaded in my head because I'm the type of person who understood and learned through life experiences about having material things and having people, having with people, okay? I'm the type of person who's been in environments where elderly people, okay, and they're on their deathbed, you can ask questions to, and they'll give you answers like, if you could change something, what would you change? And 98% of the people will tell you, if I could go back in time I would have spent more time with my human partner than with the material things, than at work, than with the money, with anything that has to do with money. Because essentially, at the end of the day, that's how we got here. That's how we got to where this has gone. Because the money is a tool for capitalism. The money is a tool for growth of industry and marketing and all these things. It's the, what do they always say? How are you going to have how are you going to be inspired to go to the next level? You know, what's the point of doing anything if you're not getting a reward for it? Okay? I understand all that. I get it. Totally get it. There's a lot of things I could change about my life to get certain things, but I've learned that those certain things aren't as important to me as, say, a connection with my kid in a very meaningful way, that I don't have to buy him something to get that connection. I'd much rather have that time eating a nice meal with him than you know, going to buy him a gift to make him happy. Like, I don't know how to articulate, but what I'm telling you is, please share this video. Please go watch The Social Dilemma. Go watch the interview with the person from The Social Dilemma on Joe Rogan's podcast, and you will understand everything that I'm trying to articulate. I promise. I literally promise you, you will get everything that I'm saying. So, I got nothing. If you believe everything that I'm saying, and you could correlate it to your life, I suggest you make a video and just click a link to these people who have the same understanding as we. All I'm saying. Have a great day.
Getting elected again, I'll tell you that, but